We are born alone, we die alone, and in between we seek companionship, validation, and the comfort of others, believing that solitude is a void to be filled, a wound to be healed. But what if solitude is not a prison, but a path? What if true happiness is found not in the presence of others, but in the mastery of oneself? The Stoics knew this truth, and today we will embrace it. The Stoic perspective on solitude. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." True freedom, true contentment is an inner fortress, not dependent on external circumstances, not built upon the fleeting presence of others. To be alone is not to be abandoned, it is to be sovereign. Marcus Aurelius, the last great emperor-philosopher, ruled the world, yet found solace not in the noise of the court, but in the silence of his own mind. In Meditations, he reminds us, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." We must build this inner sanctuary brick by brick through discipline, reflection, and self-mastery. Overcoming destructive emotions. Loneliness is not the absence of people, it is the presence of suffering in our own thoughts. Seneca teaches us that suffering is often self-inflicted, born from our desires, expectations, and attachments. He wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." If we strip away these illusions, what remains? The raw, unshaken self. Destructive emotions, despair, fear, longing, are phantoms of the undisciplined mind. They whisper that we are incomplete, that we need someone else to validate our existence. But the Stoic does not beg for peace. The Stoic creates it. We must observe our thoughts as an emperor surveys his land, ruling them with reason, cutting down the weeds of self-pity and nurturing the seeds of wisdom. The art of being alone. So how does one cultivate happiness in solitude? The Stoics offer us a roadmap. Self-sufficiency. Man should be able to retreat into himself whenever he wishes, wrote Marcus Aurelius. Train yourself to enjoy your own company. Read, reflect, create, build. Let solitude be your forge, not your prison. Mastery over desire. Epictetus reminds us that external things are beyond our control, but our responses are ours alone. Happiness is not found in having others, but in needing nothing. Purpose and virtue. A life spent chasing pleasure and external validation is an empty one. Instead, root yourself in purpose. Act with virtue. A man who stands for something stands alone, but never lonely. Embrace nature's course. Seneca tells us that the wise man aligns with nature, flowing like water rather than resisting the current. If solitude is where we find ourselves, then let us embrace it fully, rather than mourning what is absent. Solitude is a mirror. It reflects our fears, our strengths, our unfinished battles. It is here, in the quiet, that we face the hardest questions. Who are we when no one is watching? What drives us forward when no applause is given? The ancient Stoics did not fear this confrontation. They welcomed it. Seneca spent his last days in isolation, awaiting execution with unwavering composure. Marcus Aurelius wrote his greatest insights alone in the cold of a military camp. Epictetus, once a slave, found freedom in mastering himself, not in seeking the company of others. Their solitude was not emptiness. It was a crucible in which they forged their indomitable wills. The training of the mind. If we wish to be happy alone, we must train as they did. We must strip away excess, embrace discomfort, and discipline our thoughts. The mind left untrained is a restless animal. It chases pleasure, flees pain, and recoils from silence. But the mind, once mastered, becomes an unshakable force. Meditate on death, as the Stoics did, not to invite despair, but to remind ourselves that every moment alone is a gift. Reflect on hardship, not with resentment, but with gratitude for its lessons. Embrace stillness, not as a void, but as the purest form of self-reliance. The final truth. Happiness alone is not just possible, it is necessary. We must become whole before we seek to share ourselves with the world. For a man who has not mastered himself will forever be a slave to his need for others. But a man who is truly free from need, from fear, from illusion, will walk the earth as a king, even if no one else walks beside him. So we ask ourselves, do we fear being alone? Or do we fear facing ourselves? The Stoics knew the answer. And now, so do we. The world will not hand us happiness. It will not rescue us from solitude, but it will offer us a choice. To lament what is missing, or to master what is within. Choose wisely, for in that choice our fate is written.